Rail Canyon! Also known as one of the stages I was looking forward to the most in Generations. Why? Well, I've always really adored how it gave us a close look at how Eggman's operations work. Sure, we've seen things like the chemical plant and Metropolis before, but Heroes went all out in terms of world building. The Bullet Station is the nexus for most of Eggman's resources, and was at one point implied to be a station of transport for the Shadow Androids before being destroyed by the Chaotix. That may confuse you, but look really closely at the capsules they have to destroy. It's just cool to see a station like this out in the middle of literally nowhere, with giant cannons armed on every rock and every corner. It's such a difference compared to the usual vast industrial cityscapes that we see in games like Sonic 2 and Sonic 3. And of course, being in full 3D now gives us a much clearer look at everything. We can see like the little logos on the barrels and the boxes. Everything is Eggman branded, it's fun. And to top it all off, I just really enjoyed this level in Heroes. The music, the speed, the stakes, all of it was really exhilarating to me. And comparatively, it just blows that in the current Sonic games, we don't have any sauce on the rail mechanics whatsoever. You won't hear me complaining about Sonic games often, but I genuinely fall asleep anytime I'm rail grinding in Frontiers and SXSG. This mechanic is basically just an excuse to hold a slower speed boost while inputting even less buttons than a basic quick step section. Landing on rails isn't even difficult in these games either, you just magnetize to them even when you don't want to. Aside from that though, this level was just fairly linear in general. There were maybe like 2 alternative routes that just brought you to the same location in just a few seconds. The actual platforming segments of this level are fun, but there's just so much mindless rail grinding in comparison. Don't get me wrong, this isn't a horrible offense in an otherwise really good game, but this level is just a letdown compared to how all the other levels in Generations were handled. Pretty much every other level on both Sonic and Shadow's side mirror the mechanics in the original games without feeling out of place in the boost formula. And we can't really do much to repair the rail mechanics through modding, but there is a new level edit that added a lot more interactivity to the stage. I present to you Rail Canyon Plus, a mod that adds some brief original routes to it, as well as all of the routes from the challenge acts into one big level. It's funny because whenever I revisit Rail Canyon, I almost always prefer doing the missions more than the main level because there's very little downtime in the missions. And thankfully now I don't have to choose, which is a really clever solution. This mod only has Act 1, but I don't mind. Most people forget the 2D stages even exist, to be honest. I like this attempt to spruce up Act 1 because it isn't just a remake of the original Bullet Station or anything, it's improving on the groundwork we already got in Generations, which just makes this feel like an official patch of the level. And as usual, I've gathered the boys here to explore this new mod in multiplayer. This mode is really funny because it's just common to spawn in and instantly have a bunch of buddies who will follow you to the ends of the earth. You don't even get a second to yourself to breathe. And for more info on that mod, check my video in the description. Multiplayer gets really rowdy. Like, look at that. I'm at the stage gate and they're jumping so high they're actually getting into view of my camera. Yeah, so basically whenever you want to get a bunch of people into one level, you kind of gotta herd them like sheep all into the same place. I can't even have a moment of silence to myself. What is that guy doing? I just want to play a video game. Why are you being possessed? So the fun thing about this is that you actually get to see the other players in these scripted segments at the very beginning, and you'll notice this camera is directly out of the original version of Bullet Station in Sonic Heroes. You'll also notice we got these balloons here and spikes on the rails, which are straight out of the Challenge Act mission, as well as this entire beginning here with a laser fence. The entire beginning of this is made to be just the slightest bit more difficult, where you need to be a bit more mindful of your abilities. Even the earliest bit of Rail Canyon now has extra level design because that's where it started in the Challenge Act. And there are multiple pathways you can take just like the Challenge Act. The top route with the fans is actually way slower, but if you are able to successfully get through the middle area here, which I utilize my Chaos Control to do, boom, you get a collectible. And another thing I'm going to point out really quick, I think it's awesome that you can actually hear all of the other players behind you, like, getting hit by the obstacles and losing their rings. That was added very recently in the multiplayer mod, that you now have synchronized sound effects with everybody, including voices and all that kind of stuff. This part here is somewhat original. The hang glider wasn't in any of the challenge acts. Look at how raw that camera is, especially with the reanimated stomp animation on Tyrios specifically. Why did I choose Tyrios? I don't know, I just thought his colors looked pretty cool in this desert area. It's also kind of cool that he wears like a bandana and it's like, you know, like the Wild West looking ass area. And aside from that, I feel like people don't really give a lot of love to Tyrios anyways these days. This is really cool too, because there are a lot more options for places to go. It's really neat seeing other players on a pathway that you're not following, and they probably see you on a pathway that they're not following. So it's just really neat because it almost tells you like, oh, I can go there too, I can do that. That's awesome. And speaking of pathways, this is the lower pathway for the ring mission. The area from earlier with all the balloons was actually from the Chaos Spear mission, so you'll notice all the rings that are in this segment are because it's the other mission. This entire rail section, I believe, isn't even in the original, as well as this floating area with all the egg flappers here. I think it's cool because the person in front of me just went on the top route, I believe, and I was on the bottom route, but I was able to actually catch up with them. But now we get a better look at what the top route looks like. This area is actually one of my favorite things in all of Shadow Generation. It's very short, but it's very sweet. I don't know, this should have been part of the actual level design in the main rail canyon, because all of the side missions, dude, are just heavily overlooked. People do the missions one time and then never return to them. They never remember that how fun they actually were, even if it was short. So I think it's very clever that this mod combines the main level design with the side level design, and now it's much harder for people to forget. Also, like I was saying earlier, like, how sick is it that we each chose different rails and we could see each other in the cinematic camera? Around this point, I lost my boost, so I had to kind of like sit back like a weenie. But if you look closer, you're gonna actually see Mashu jumping around for the scripted animation with his name tag. Oh, it's so accurate. It's really cute sharing this experience with other people. And right here, this is a completely brand new segment that wasn't a part of any mission at all, and I believe it's the only original piece of level design in the Doom Zone itself. By the way, cool pathway here that is in the vanilla game. I never see anybody take this pathway, even though it's the thing from SA2. Anyway, that is pretty much all there is to see in the Doom Zone. Nothing new. We got another laser fence here, and I think this placement is really cool because before you would just hit a ramp and it would slowly put you onto this rail, but there you have to reel yourself back and react because most people are just going to be boosting forward there and you will get hit by that. It's really cool too because if you fall behind, you'll still have players following behind you that you can see, and if you're going really fast, you can keep up with the big boys who know how to speedrun these levels. Typically, there's always somebody you're going to run into when you're doing this in multiplayer.
So, you think this will stop me?
Yeah, and I guess Doomrai Guy, the developer of this mod, also just decided to plop a random voice line there. I don't remember that actually being there in the vanilla Rail Canyon, but that's pretty cool. And I guess now's a really good time to also point out the fact that, yeah, when you're playing the multiplayer mod, every single custom level just works with other people as long as they also have it downloaded. All of the terrain and everything. It's completely seamless and you don't need like a compatibility patch or anything like that. Again, the sound synchronization is really fun because like at the very end of the level here, there's no music, it's very quiet, we could just hear each other stepping on the grates, and we're just chilling out here waiting for the stragglers to come by and finish the level with us. And I even set a camera up over here to look all fancy and cinematic, wow. Haha. It's very common for people that just want to race each other through these levels, but I think some of the most fun you're going to have at a multiplayer is taking the levels slow and looking at the little things and like launching yourself off of random objects with people. It's really funny. But yeah, all in all, I think that if you are going to do a replay of this game, if you're going to apply any mod whatsoever, you should consider using this one. Now, it is a little bit weird having all those like balloons everywhere and like the ring spam in certain parts, but the actual platforming and enemy placements are really fun in this mod. And if you like what you saw here today, I like to make platforming content both fan-made and official. Pretty much all of my Shadow Generations and Sonic Frontiers videos going forward are going to be in the multiplayer mod, so if you want to see more shenanigans like this, consider checking out my Sonic modding playlist, as I have many others just like this.